with the black and white. You see the relation. But that implies that self and other are inseparable. They go with each other. Characteristic of the difference between self and other is voluntary behavior and involuntary behavior. What you do on the one hand and what happens to you on the other. This is not always quite coterminous with the difference between self and other, because when you have hiccups, you feel that it happened to you, but it was your hiccups, or belly rumbles, or headache, or whatever. What about when you breathe? Do you do it, or does it happen to you? That's a very moot case, because you can feel you're doing it, but you can also feel it happening to you. So perhaps the distinction between the voluntary and the involuntary is a little arbitrary, a little vague. Certainly it is when it comes to breathing. But once again, I think, how could I say of an act, I've done it, unless there were contrasting acts, for which I could say I didn't do them. So I need the involuntary if I'm to have any voluntary. So that if there is a union of implication between the two,
that doesn't hurt, does it?
I get the same sort of relationship between them as I explained when I said you can use white for either the positive or the negative symbol.
Yeah, a little deep in there.
In other words, I can regard what I do as what happens to me, and I can regard what happens to me as what I do. It is in this sense that a Hindu or a Buddhist will say, if you have an accident, it was your karma. Because the word karma means nothing more than doing. You had an accident. It was your doing. Well, we would say that's not fair.
I do a little curl.
And naive people suppose it was their doing in the sense that this mishap is a punishment for a misdeed you did at a former time.
No shoulder to the table.
That's only a superstitious meaning of karma. Karma means literally you did it. But you did your accident in the same way, you see, as you do certain other things that are classified as involuntary, like growing your hair or digesting your dinner. Because it all depends what you mean by you. If you restrict self to the voluntary, then you get the distinction between what you did and what you didn't do. But if the self really must include the other and the involuntary, then others are your others, and involuntary happenings are your deeds. That's rather interesting.
Go into your belt first. There you go.
You may feel, as a result of seeing that, one of two things. You may feel that you really don't do anything at all. That you are in a completely deterministic universe where everything happens.
Just pull his hand out.
That your own voluntary decisions and deeds spring out of unconscious mental mechanisms, which determine them completely, so that you are at best only a witness of what happens. Or you can feel the opposite of that. You can feel that you are God, that you're doing everything. That rocks fall, water is wet, and fire hot because of you. Which is in a way true. Because the sun would not be light except in relationship to eyes that can see. Nor would rocks be hard except in relation to relatively soft skin.
Pick a side, it doesn't matter which side.
Nor would they be heavy except in relation to a certain musculature.
Don't roll off on the camera.
So by the way you are, you evoke the way the world is.
Good.
We might say there are some vibrations out there that are really out there. But these vibrations are not colored, or soft or hard, or light or dark, or light or heavy, until in relation to some sensitive system. But then again, the sensitive nervous system is part of the external world. And the external world is an event in the nervous system. The inside of the box is outside the box, and the inside and the outside is inside. I mean, it seems to flip-flop perpetually. They take again another contrast, the solid and the space. Most of us think that reality is solid rather than space. We talk about hard facts. We talk about impenetrable reality, even brute facts. The hard always seems real, just like the black mark on the white background. Even though it's black, the thing, even though the solid is untransparent, unluminous, it seems to be more real than blue sky. This is a very partial point of view. Can you imagine a world that was solid without any space? The edges of the solid would be, of course, invisible. There would be no edges, because an edge is a point of interface between a solid and a space. So if you take away space, you take away solid. Right, let's take away solid. Where's the space? After all, you say of space, it's a space between. If there are no limits, there's no space. Even if you imagine purely empty space, you've always got the sense of yourself looking at it, and that's the solid. Now this is very awkward, because we are quite sure that space isn't there. We take no account of it, and therefore get puzzled when our mathematicians and physicists begin to talk about curved space, or properties of space, or expanding space. People say, the ordinary average person, you can't talk like that, it's bunk. Space can't expand, because it's not there. It isn't anything, it can't do anything. Well, let's see if a solid can. Let's investigate a solid. You know what happens when you start going into nuclear physics. You find that in any given solid, however dense a piece of steel it may be, there's a great deal more space in it than there is any solid. The distances between molecules, the distances between atoms and subatomic particles are relatively vast. In something, there's a lot more nothing than there is any something. Because as you investigate and penetrate the solid, you find it to be increasingly spacious. Now what happens when we investigate the spacious? How do you investigate space? Well, you go there. You bring in a solid. You map it. So space and solid are really like poles, they're limits.
Roll into my hand, please, and relax.
And the same with yourself and the other, the organism and the environment, the individual and the world. Go thoroughly into any one and you get the other. Ask, for example, the question, what do you mean when you love yourself? Love yourself thoroughly. I want you to be as completely selfish as possible. Tell me, what do you love?
Roll into my hand one more time.
Wowee. See, well, I like candy. I like beautiful girls. I like beefsteak. I like good bread. I like the sun and a lovely landscape. I like clear water. I like music. Come on, talk about yourself, will you, for a change? And I suddenly realize I can't. When I love myself, I think of all things other than myself that I love.
So can you put your hand straight up toward the ceiling?
It's very quick.
Okay. And then let it fall
But
forward.
that's what's called the basic flip-flopability between the pairs of opposites.
Then up again.
That's why the Chinese represent
And can you
them
go back?
with these two interlocked commas
Here, I'll go back more.
that suggest a kind of blub, 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 blub rhythm. So that when you get the full development of yang, you get the beginning of yin. And when you get the full development of yin, you get the beginning of yang. That is, the one implies the other.
Alright, arm down.
So they're always flipping, doing a flip. And doing a flip is the love that makes the world go round. You've got a double helix. So, the male and the female. That's the love position. The double helix. Spiral nebulae do this. So do creatures in sexual intercourse. The double helix. I'm chasing you, you're chasing me. I love you so much I can eat you. I realize myself, you see, only through other. So, in this way then, we get another marvelous instance of the pairs of opposites. We've got the differences and we see a unity between them. Then let's contrast the principle of difference with the principle of unity. Here we are again. We know what we mean by difference because we know what we mean by unity. So difference implies unity, and unity implies difference. Now what is it that lies beyond difference and unity? See, we found unity lying beyond differences, north and south. The difference is united in their poles as one. All right? Now let's take difference and unity. What lies between them? You could say your mind. As in the magnetic tape. What lies between the on signals, the one signals, and the zero signals? Well, of course, the tape. They're both on the tape. Only the tape, as such, doesn't register. It registers only in terms of yes or no. But you don't get a signal tape with yes, no, tape, because it's irrelevant. It makes no difference. And yet, if there weren't the tape there, you wouldn't get any signals at all. So is there something underlying yes and no, life and death, light and darkness? Well, that's what we call God. Only we can't say anything about it, because everything we say is a statement, and that implies an opposite. But as I pointed out in the beginning, this is so frustrating, because we want to play a game with these opposites, you see. It's like we have opposites in chess, the black side and the white side. We want to win. And we want to win, but then when we think of the other fellow, we realize that if I'm going to win, you're going to lose. And it's rather hard, isn't it? Couldn't we arrange for a game in which everybody wins? But then nobody wins. Nothing happened. There was no game. So to try to play a no-lose game is impossible. We set ourselves an impossible task, and that makes us feel very frustrated. We're always frustrated because we're trying to do what can't be done. Wanting good all the time. Want sunshine every day. Okay, a desert for you.
Push the foot towards the table.
No, that's not what you wanted, was it? You really want a world in which is all positive? No, nobody really does. Only we think we do, and we think we ought to. But it still bothers us. Because after all, if I come to the conclusion that there's really, it doesn't make any difference, it's going to be black and white, life and death, good and evil, alternately, forever and ever and ever, I can't improve this world, I feel sort of sad, and I'm just going to sit around and vegetate. All the guts are gone on. And yet I can't put up with that. I have an itch. Surely there must be some way of getting through. So what is it? Is there a great pleasure which lies beyond the ordinary contrast of pleasure and pain? What do the Hindus mean when they say that Brahman, the absolute reality, is Satchidananda? Sat, reality, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, bliss. What is Ananda? What is metaphysical bliss? Joy beyond pleasure, pain, good, evil. Has such a conception even any meaning? Well, in all the various accounts that are given to us of the mystical experience, they have an intense joyousness. The sudden realization that the dark and the light constitute a harmony. They're not discordant. That, as somebody once put it to me, this was a lady of 60 or so who was in an accident with an elevator, and she had her leg cut. And they couldn't get a rescue crew to her for half an hour. But she said, during that time, I had the most extraordinary
Point your toes up towards the ceiling.
I realized there wasn't
the
one grain of dust in this whole universe that is out of place.
Oh. Yeah, hook the back of my neck, kind of.
Okay. Pretty weird.
Right.
But from a strictly philosophical and logical point of view, it doesn't mean anything.
Hook it up. There you go.
When I say everything is good, no, so the Christian Science out of it. It doesn't mean anything. It's no more, from a logical point of view, than saying everything is everything. That doesn't tell me anything. It's all good, it's all happy, it's all harmonious. And yet, if any one of you ever had an experience of cosmic consciousness, you know jolly well that those are no idle words. And you can see the positive and the negative, the yes and no, singing together, constituting each other in this fantastic dance, in which the outward radiance flowing out is at the same time the withdrawal of the black outline.
How you feeling?
That withdrawal
Good.
seems to be drawing aside a
Real
veil
relaxed.
to show the white, the light. If the veil didn't draw back, there would be no light. The veil did the drawing back, the light shone. Or did the light shove the veil back? If it didn't shove, or it hadn't got a veil to shove back, where would the contrast be? You see the light and the dark playing with each other. So there is a concept in a game called good sportsmanship, which means that you can be a good loser, that you can play the part of lose with the same enthusiasm that you can play the part of win. And therefore what you look for is a good opponent, someone who will really give you a run. And so what you do is you let the opponent win every so often. You have to try and keep yourself on top as just a little edge on the other one, you see? Well, after a while, you see, your consciousness changes, and you find you're always a little on top. when you average it out. And that gets boring. So you're going after a while to let the other person average out. But then you're going to count the spaces, you see? For a year, you average out. Then you'll allow your partner to have 6 months averaging out better. You get a little more daring and give them 7 months. Then I'll catch up with you just at 11 months, and I'm going to come in again and I'm going to add another 12 months in which I'm the usual winner. See? Well, the more you think of that, the more you think, well, I'm kind of a cad to be like this. You're going to let the other person in. Because you can't maintain consciousness without the contrast. That's why people go in for adventure. Why we take risks. Why we do absolutely foolish things. Toss a coin and see what happens. Go skydiving. Let's go roaring around in racing cars. Let's even have wars. See what happens. Because some people are cautious and say life is like a fire, and the thing to do is to keep it burning as long as possible. There are two kinds of pipe smokers. People who take enormous puffs and I mean vast clouds of smoke and the pipe burns out very quickly. And there are other people who very slowly take a puff and keep the pipe going for a long, long time. Some people like a quick, enormous flash. Others like a long, long, slow glow. Who's right? Who's left? You can take it either way.
Push forward with your hand a little bit.
You may go off with a whimper, but we will go off with a bang.
Pull forward with your elbow.
Morning glory blooms for an hour, and yet it differs not apart from the giant pine that lives for 1,000 years. Fruit fly at the one end, zit lives a few hours, tortoise at the other, slow solemn tortoise, who lives for 500 years, but slowly. Maybe they both, from their own point of view, live the same time. Maybe the fruit fly thinks a few hours are very long. The tortoise thinks 500 years are but 80 and all flesh is grass. From your own point of view, it's always the same. Because it's your point of view. If you are a person born to riches, you will feel it's terrible to go down to poverty. But if you're born to poverty, that will be the usual state of affairs. You think it's extremely lucky if you rise to riches. But you see, I haven't really answered the question. Is there any way around this? Yeah, we can be a good sport, but it all comes out the same thing in the end. I mean, it balances out, and so what? What do you mean, so what? What's wrong with it doing that? Would you rather it was different? And if you really go into your thinking, you find you can't rather that it was different. When you see that you cannot have the positive without the negative, and if you want the positive, you'll have to take the negative. You say, well, it's making the best of it, you know, as if to say, well, the thing's kind of a lousy deal, but I'll take it. But I would ask you, what else would you have? Suggest me a better arrangement. You will suddenly find that if you do suggest what you think is a better arrangement, that won't be what you wanted. You finally have to admit that you want it the way it is. Right. Because the whole nature of wanting involves contrast. You want the good to be good, don't you? You want it to be real yummy.
Right.
Okay. Right, so I'll give you nothing but chocolate eclairs with honey and a glass of champagne for breakfast every day, and for lunch and for dinner. You'll soon get sick of that. Or I'll give you a harem. And you just keep it up day and night. Pretty soon you'll
Let's do my hands straight up.
You know, someone said me to a bar.
Go forward with your hand in front of you.
So by following this through the relentless
Oh,
logic
gotcha.
I'm trying to
of is you is or is you ain't,
Okay, now go straight up again.
you come to a curious sensation
I'll go back.
that after
Towards
all,
the garage door.
if I really go into this problem of life, it is the way I want it to be. If I look at it superficially and in a sort of short-run view, well, it isn't the way I want it. I want it changed right now, see?
And straight up. Can you go over your head?
And I will, you see, life is like sleeping on a hard bed.
A little stretch.
You lie on your left side for a while, and then you say, this I can't stand this anymore, and tell me your right side. Same with
Up,
politics.
down.
And you get tired of that, so you say, well, now I'm on the left. You get tired of that a little bit faster than you did before. Try the right again, it's boring. So you try your back. And then that begins to get right. Then you turn over and lie on your tummy. And then you switch to your back, and then your tummy, and then you try your right side again, and your left, you see. And so you proceed. But what else do you suggest?
Can you push into my hand here?
I would like it to be so that I was always comfortable. But you can see that if you were, you wouldn't know what comfortable is. So here's this puzzle.
Horsefly.
It's got two sides. Side one, I cannot beat the game of opposites. I cannot have more positive than negative. Side two, I wouldn't want it otherwise. Because I cannot imagine how to improve it.
What, boy?
So involved in this is a sudden and curious initial deflation.
Hello?
I'm out of sorts when I feel that there's no
Oh,
impression
boy.
I can make on it, is it? And yet I find who is this I that's trying to interfere and wants to be challenged and is put out of sorts? Well, when I look for it, I can't find it. I cannot find an I, myself, opposed to they or it. Because how could I have the one without the other? So, that feeling that I had of deflation, of frustration, is simply the realization there is no such thing as a separate I. Now, if you don't want to feel that truth, you will resist feeling it. But if you're open, this logic of the opposites of the game of black and white will lead you ineluctably to the conclusion that you have no separate self apart from what is called other. So there you are. You find that you are the vibration system, which is what's going on. You are the undulation, the pulsation called existence. That's you. And it's going in ever so many different ways.
I'm not doing too much, am I?
Is that all?
What's that?
I'm not doing too much, am I?
What more did you expect? Well, I don't know, I wanted just a little something more. You mean you want a surprise? I think we're back where we were a little while ago.
I got you.
But the surprise is in the way of this.
So hook my neck again?
We are looking
Go out like
in
that?
the
Yeah,
system
now hook.
for that little
There
something
you go.
more which will give it meaning. But we're looking for the wrong kind of meaning. The meaning of this, now you see it, now you don't. Is it? It's pulsation. The meaning of it is not apart from it, away from it, something different. The meaning of it is the dance, you see? That's why we get back to the point I made this morning. To get with this, you've got to swing. And swing means, I'll give it to you in a Zen story. A Zen student said to his teacher, "It's terribly hot. How do we escape the heat?" He said, "Why not go where it's neither hot nor cold?"
Is that a good little session every day?
Yeah, definitely.
The teacher said,
Wow.
"In summer, in
I'll
sweat."
get a little different angles at times.
Yeah, yeah.
Give you something a little different.
Let my head clear.